Sustainability is the balance between meeting the current needs of society while securing resources for future generations to operate. Sustainability is one of the most commonly overused words, but a concept we must consider when thinking about the future of agriculture. Thank you, honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen, organizers, and fellow competitors. Sustainability is based on three main pillars: social equity, economic viability, and environmental protection. Over the past 25 years, farmers have faced many challenges regarding sustainability based on disease, weather, market fluctuations, and social factors. Farmers are considered to be eternal optimists, but I would like to highlight some of the most devastating and impactful moments in farming history. Farming to many is considered a lifestyle, but to me, it is a livelihood. Many farmers consider the health of their herds to be a personal responsibility, but when disease outbreaks, the control is simply out of our hands. Examples of this include BSE, bovine tuberculosis, African swine fever, TGE, and many other instances. One disease that is arguably the most terrifying to farmers and their families is the avian influenza. The avian influenza primarily affected poultry producers, but being contractable by humans, it was also very frightening to the families. The avian influenza was deemed uncontrollable in the spread as it was transmitted by migratory birds worldwide. Whether you were a large producer or simply a backyard bird lover, no flock was safe. And the only way to control the poultry industry once again was to eliminate any possible spread of the influenza by eliminating entire flocks of birds if so much as one fowl had a symptom. Years later, the avian influenza is no longer a major concern, but it was not an easy or enjoyable feat getting to this place. Weather is something that never seems to cooperate. Since 1995, central Alberta has experienced every condition known to man. But the one being the most detrimental to grain farmers was the drought of 2002. Drought is so hard to recover from because it removes all the moisture from the land and makes growing crops incredibly difficult. Although there are sustainability measures that can be taken, and crops that are more hardy to the dry soil, in Alberta, this is simply not possible because we receive just about as many floods as we do droughts. So if we are prepared for drought, we are not prepared for a flood. Farmers and grain farmers did recover from this incident, and we have not felt such a wrath from a drought since. Markets are always fluctuating. When a Kansas slaughterhouse owned by Cargill burnt down, the local and global economy took a hit. When XL Foods in Brooks recalled beef due to an E. coli outbreak, the market fell. But the hardest incident to recover from yet has to be the BSE scare of 2003. BSE is commonly known as mad cow disease, and in order for a cow to contract BSE, it must eat the brain and/or spinal cord of another cow with a pre-existing prion. Hence, we had very little cases in Canada. However, that did not stop us from moving into one of the greatest crises of the century. Borders closed and consumers turned away from beef because they were scared of contracting the disease themselves. The recovery around BSE was largely based on education and proving to the national and global stage that our beef was safe to consume, trade, and breed. Once consumers began opening up to the idea of eating beef once again, the borders began to open and trade commenced. One of the greatest lessons we learned from BSE was the importance of consumer education. Social factors are some of the hardest for farmers to tolerate and understand. Farming is one of those careers that is always under the microscope of society. Although COVID-19 took a large toll on our livelihoods, I want to highlight the spike in plant-based products. The consumption of plant-based goods is at an all-time high, and it is my belief that this is based on a lack of education from a consumer standpoint. If we can recover from BSE and convince the entire world that our beef is safe to consume, how are we still losing consumers? The short answer: education. Implementing education into the school system provides us with an opportunity to teach youth where their food comes from, what farmers do for the world, and make our practices more transparent. Farmers markets are becoming so appealing because it gives consumers the opportunity to meet the producer. So I believe that if we, as producers, make our practices more transparent and let consumers know exactly where their food is coming from, they will be more inclined to purchase and consume beef products. Whether it be diseases like the avian influenza, droughts, floods, BSE scares, or simply COVID-19, the number one thing farmers have learned over the last 25 years is how to respond. How to respond to devastation and disappointment. How to respond to tough financial situations and loss. How to respond to animal activists. We cannot control everything that goes on in our industry, but we can control how we respond. The decisions we make all play a role in the sustainability of our industry. And so the choices we make are for people bigger than ourselves, because we want the future generation to have an industry to grow up and learn from. And that is exactly what sustainability means for us.